The UFC has to give us a super fight this year. Let me break it down. The UFC has 4 opportunities to give us at least one super fight this year. I want to explain all 4 super fights and the scenarios. Let's start off with Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. So the UFC just announced that Ilia Topuria has vacated his featherweight title and will be moving up to lightweight.
Big week at the UFC. Some crazy stuff went down. With Ilia moving up to lightweight, vacating the title. You weren't able to announce it then, but is it safe to say that Ilia Islam is the fight that we're sort of working towards, or could he be fighting?
There's still other possibilities. So there's a lot of shit going on right now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have said.
Did he vacate the belt, or did you guys say, if you're moving to lightweight, then we don't want to hold up the featherweight division?
No, he did that. He said, I've done everything I can do here. I'm ready to move up. And he vacated it. He said, I shouldn't be holding up anybody's opportunities. And, you know, it's always, I respect when guys do that.
Diego Lopez said in an interview that the UFC are going to try and sort of stop double champs from happening in the future. Like, so if this case happened, you would have asked Ilia to give up the belt. I don't know if that's a rule, but is that something you'd rather see guys actually vacate rather than try and do both at the same time?
Unless you think you can, defend your title. Listen, if there's a guy that thinks he can do it and wants to defend both belts and has accomplished all these great things, I would have no problem with it. But you're going to be busy.
And the UFC also just announced that for UFC 314 Miami, Diego Lopez versus Alexandre Volkanovski will fight for the vacant title. After they announced that, the UFC also announced that they're trying to make Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev for International Fight Week. But Dana White also said that they might give Ilia someone else to fight. If I were the UFC, I would make the super fight of Ilia versus Makhachev. But I do gotta say, thank God we don't have to see Ilia versus Volk. And we get to see a fight that everyone wants, and it is good for both fighters' resumes and legacies. Not even Lucas Tracy wants to see Volk get knocked out again.
Don't need to see the rematch. I don't care if Alexander Volkanovski deserves it, which he does, but don't want to see it, and I don't care about it because he's going to get knocked out again, and I know that for a fact. 100% Volk gets KO'd again by Ilia Topuria. I don't want to see Volk get KO'd 3 times in a row.
Ilia has better striking than Islam, but Islam's obviously way better on the ground, and both styles would make a fun matchup. And for Islam, this would already be another former featherweight that he has fought, but it's a lot different when you have a guy like Ilia coming off 2 wins against featherweight GOATs, Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Ilia had already talked about moving up.
What's going to happen? Me personally, what I want to do is to move up to the 155 because I know by fact that I can become a two-weight world champion. Because Islam, he's a great fighter. He's the #1 pound for pound for the people, for me. It's me, myself. I'm the best fighter in the world. So I know that I can do with him whatever I want to do because I know that I'm much better than him.
Now that the UFC has booked Diego Lopez versus Alexandre Volkanovski for UFC 314 Miami for the vacant featherweight title, then when the super fight between Ilia and Islam happens, if Ilia wins or loses, he can fight Charles next. And if Islam wins or loses, he can fight Arman Tsarukyan again in his next fight. The next super fight I wanted to talk about is not really on people's minds, but I can see it happen, and that's Alexandre Pantoja versus Merab Dvalishvili. Now, I know one of you just went,
"What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?"
But hear me out. Both fighters have fought everyone in their division and beat them. Alexandre Pantoja is on a 7-fight win streak. He's beaten Brandon Moreno 3 times, Brandon Royval twice, Alex Perez, Manel Kape, Steve Erceg, Kaya Sakura, and he is rumored to fight Kai Kara-France again after beating him in Season 24 of Tough. And Kai Kara-France is coming off a 1-fight knockout win against Steve Erceg. Merab Dvalishvili is on a 12-fight win streak, beating names such as Marlon Moraes, Jose Aldo, Piotr Yan, Henry Cejudo, Sean O'Malley, and Umar Nurmagomedov. I think Alexandre Pantoja should move up to fight Merab Dvalishvili for the bantamweight belt. It would be a super exciting fight with both guys having tremendous cardio, amazing grappling, and both guys having chins made out of titanium. This fight would be great for both fighters' legacies, with Merab being the bantamweight GOAT, and a win against Pantoja would just add to the amazing names and former champs he's beaten. And for Pantoja, it would be another 2-division champ, The third potential super fight that can happen this year, and should happen this year, is Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. This fight should have happened last year, but Jon Jones has been ducking Aspinall and wanting more money to fight Aspinall.
If I give him the opportunity to fight me, I want to be so compensated. I want to say it, I want that fuck you money, honestly. And
because he knows he's going to lose. But regardless, this fight has to happen to unify the heavyweight belt, and this is the fight that everyone wants to see, not what we saw at UFC 309. Tom Aspinall has beaten everyone in the heavyweight division and is the most athletic and skilled heavyweight on the roster. Jon Jones is nearing the end of his career and looked okay in his last fight against Stipe, but Jones is old, and for the most part of his career, he's always been the younger fighter in his fights. For his first fight against DC, Jon Jones was 27 and DC was 35. That's 8 years apart compared to now that Jon Jones is 37 and Tom is 31. I think the UFC will book this fight. They know this fight has to happen, and it's what everyone wants. Now, after UFC 312, Dricus du Plessis beat Sean Strickland, and he kinda called out a fight against Alex Pereira, who has been hinting that he wanted to move down to fight DDP for a super fight, which I do think would be a great fight between both guys. With the plot armor of DDP and Alex's amazing aura, and this fight could happen if Alex beats Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 313, but the UFC already confirmed that DDP's next fight is against Khamzat Chimaev, which is going to be an amazing fight. It'd be great to see if DDP can survive that first round against Chimaev, and if he can beat him in the later rounds. With Chimaev's bad medical history, we'll see. Also, Weili Zhang beat Tatiana Suarez and became the women's bantamweight GOAT. And honestly, her next fight needs to be against Valentina Shevchenko. This is the fourth super fight to make. Make this fight happen. It's the only fight we want to see. Both fighters, Weili Zhang has a chance to be double champ.
Announcements. We obviously had Valentina and Manon. Weili Zhang got that big win a few weeks ago. A lot of people would like to see her move up. Would you like to see her fight the winner of that title fight in Montreal, the co-main event?
Yeah.
Great.
Valentina Shevchenko has a chance to show that she's the best in the world as well. This is the fight to make in the women's division. Weili Zhang versus Valentina Shevchenko to show who is the GOAT in the women's division for the flyweight strap. But these are the super fights that I think the UFC has to make. Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, Merab Dvalishvili versus Alexandre Pantoja, Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, and Weili Zhang versus Valentina Shevchenko. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'm GNAPS MMA, like and subscribe, and I'm out.